Hello everyone, and welcome to the Miss Pink Digital Podcast, home to everything digital marketing, brand building, and tech. And today's episode is the first episode of another podcast series that I am starting, and it's all about Google product feeds. Woohoo! Very exciting. Try not to get too excited. I know it is crazy. No, but all jokes aside, your product feed is incredibly important. And if you're already running Google shopping activity, then you likely already know the importance of a product feed. But if you don't, and if you're not sure what product feed is, quickly, I'll just explain that to you. So when you want to run any form of Google shopping activity, or you want to have your products listed on Google Shopping organically, then you require what's called a Google Merchant Center account. And then what you need is a product feed. And a product feed is essentially your gateway in getting your products from your site and all of that product information from your site and plugging it into Merchant Center. Merchant Center, well, it's going to be called something else soon. It's coming out with Merchant Center Next soon. So if you're listening to this in the future, it might be Merchant Center Next. But anyway, I digress. Then Merchant Center acts as the middleman between the products on your site and the Google Ads platform. And it basically then allows you to link up your Google Ads account with Google Merchant Center and connect it up to your feed and all your products and run Google shopping ads through your feed based on the information you provide to Merchant Center. So that is what a product feed does. It also allows you, when your product feed is good enough, to show for free listings on Google Shopping, which is essentially your organic shopping traffic as well. So it holds a lot of jobs. It is incredibly important. And not only is it incredibly important to have one if you're running shopping ads or shopping activity in general, or if you're looking to start an e-com business, but it's incredibly important to ensure it is optimized. And today we're going to be talking about optimizing product titles. Now, product title within your product feed is essentially the name of the product. And the reason why it's so important to have a product title is it allows Google Shopping or Google to match your product to the user's query. So it's incredibly important because without an accurate and detailed product title, Google can't accurately match it to the user's queries and or query. So essentially, the more you can optimize this feature within your Google Shopping feed, the more visibility your product will get, the more accurate visibility your product will get, meaning Google will show your product for the most relevant queries and searches possible. And it will just overall improve your feed and product quality, which can not only, like I say, improve visibility and impression share, but also improve things like click-through rate, conversion rate, and even reduce cost per click and all of that good stuff. So we're going to jump straight into the list and run through some key ways you can improve your product titles in Google Shopping. And also, another thing to note, this is not just a Google Shopping rule. This can be applied to anywhere where you pump out a product feed, whether that's Facebook ads, whether that's TikTok ads, anything. So this list will be helpful for any shopping activity you're doing on any ads or organic channels. So even if you're not running Google ads or Google Shopping ads and you're not looking to anytime soon, this is still going to be helpful for you because it will help your other ad channels as well. First things first, a really simple but quite neglected rule or tip, I guess you could say, when it comes to product feeds is all your product titles should be unique. So duplicate titles will trigger limitations on your listing, and in some instances, or a lot of instances, can result in your listing being disapproved. The way you've got to look at duplicate titles is Google hates duplicate content. So when you look at anything from an SEO perspective or a website content perspective, it always says, do not duplicate your content. This is an SEO 101. It can trigger penalties on your site. It can trigger your rankings to drop. And the same principle needs to be applied to your product titles. Everything needs to be unique and quality to appease Google. So if you do have duplicate titles, if you don't already have a limitation notice or disapproval notice in your account, then you are one of the lucky ones. Fix those duplicate titles now before you get one of those disapproval notices. Next one is a pretty obvious one, I feel like, but it is still important. A few of these are pretty obvious actually, but this is incredibly important. Ensure your product titles are relevant to the product. So when it comes to irrelevant product titles or inaccurate listing info, it's basically a gateway to generating product disapprovals because Google obviously wants your listing information to be as accurate to the user as possible. They don't want you to deceive the user in any way. So that's one way you can deceive the user, obviously, is if your product is not relevant to your product title. If this is a common occurrence in your account as well, I'm pretty sure this can open the doors to suspensions because you are deceiving users through your product listings and ultimately through your ads. You can also get an account suspension if too many products or if all of your products within your feed are disapproved. And if you have irrelevant product titles throughout your whole feed, all your products going to get disapproved, or at least have visibility limitations to them. Let's say you do have irrelevant product titles to your products and they are approved and they are getting impressions and whatnot. The clicks are going to be lower quality on those listings, and also they're going to likely generate lower click-through rate than if your product listing information was accurate. So when someone clicks on your ad, they will be expecting to see a specific product. Obviously, they're going to go through and see that the product isn't what they were looking for because the product title was not relevant to what your product actually is. This in turn not only, like I say, impacts the quality of your clicks, but can also trigger high bounce rates. And for those who don't know what bounce rate is, it's basically the rate in which someone's entered your site and then jumped off. You want to keep the bounce rate as low as possible. If it's incredibly high, it means users are just getting to your site and coming straight off before even interacting or doing anything. So ensuring your title is relevant to the product will not only prevent any product disapprovals or merchant center suspensions, that's hard to say, suspensions, but it will also improve the quality of your clicks and other important metrics like the click-through rate within your advertising. Following on from that, checking your grammar. Now, again, I feel like this is a pretty obvious one, but it's so important as a business that your listing information is grammatically correct. No one wants to click on an ad that's riddled with grammatical errors. It can help build trust between users if you have an ad that is grammatically correct. Obviously, when you see a website or when you see an ad that's just riddled with errors, you don't really want to click on it. You don't trust that site. You don't see the professionalism behind that site. So checking your grammar in your product listing is key. And while we're on the topic of, it's not really grammar, but it's along that realm of things, avoid overcapitalization in your ads. This is yet another way your listing can get disapproved. Excessive use of capitalization on product titles can appear as spammy to the user and to Google, which can lead to users perceiving the ads as less trustworthy. And within Google, as we know, Google is all about gaining trust. So I would say instead of opting for overcapitalization and excessive capitalization, use title case. It can still grab the user's attention and it's a lot more clean and professional looking as well. Now we're on to the super fun stuff. Obviously, fun might be a bit of an over-exaggeration for some of you. Some of you may not think so. You may think this is the best thing in the world, but I digress. We're on to the fun stuff, and that is making your titles SEO friendly. Those who don't know what SEO stands for, it stands for search engine optimization. Obviously, Google is a search engine, and whether it's ads or organic, you want to optimize for that visibility, and making your titles SEO friendly is one way to do it, both within your advertising activity and within your free listings. So when it comes to your titles within your feed, you're allowed up to 150 characters, and it's so important to make sure you're utilizing all of them and providing as much context and information not only to the user but to Google. But it's also important to make sure you front load the most important information and product features in the first 70 characters. This is because Google will often only show the first 70 characters in your listing initially, and it won't show the full 150. So 70 characters is the most optimal length for your title for being both SEO friendly and providing enough context or upfront context about your product to the user. But on top of that, the additional characters is important as well to continue to feed that information in. So ensuring your product titles are 70 to 150 characters, but front loading that important information in the first 70 is the first thing you can do to further optimize your titles to make them more SEO friendly. It's important to make sure you don't exceed the 150 limit. The reason being is it can lead to product approval limitations. So another way you can get your products disapproved in your listing. So what information do we want to be front loading into our product titles? Very good question. So the first thing I would say is the product name. The product name is going to be incredibly important. It needs to be at the forefront of your title because this is obviously what the user is searching. So when it comes to your product name, make sure it's keyword driven. Have a look at Google Keyword Planner and look at what users type in to search for your product, and that's going to be your product name. Then it's going to be your brand. So introducing your brand within your product title is not only a great way to boost your brand awareness within your prospecting activity. So if you're running any Performance Max prospecting campaigns, any shopping campaigns in general, it's a really good opportunity there to do some brand awareness as well as driving conversions, obviously. Also, having your brand in the title looks quite professional, and it can help build trust once the user has familiarized themselves with your brand as well. Then, following that, it's time to add in your details about your product. So if your product is certified, if it's organic, if it's waterproof, anything to do with additional information that the user is going to search to do with your product. So again, this all needs to be keyword/query driven. So let's say I'm selling a raincoat and I've had a look at the keyword research and we're in winter, and keyword research identifies that there is a demand for terms relating to waterproof coats, waterproof jackets, or anything like that. Then it's a good opportunity to state that it's waterproof or water repellent in the product title. This way it improves my visibility for those queries, and it also improves the relevance to those queries as well, which in turn can improve click-through rate, it can improve your listing positioning, and it can improve later down the line things like conversion rates and overall listing quality, which can also help your organic listing on free listings. So yes, that is it today. That is all about how you can make an epic product title and all the attributes you need to really level up that listing information. We're obviously going to be talking about all the other attributes in future podcast episodes, and there are going to be blog posts on the Miss Pink Digital website talking about this as well. So keep an eye out for those. But yes, I hope this episode was helpful, and I look forward to speaking to you guys again soon. Thank you for listening.